Hello, learning birds. This is Mr. Buffington, and we are going to talk about tone today. Tone is the attitude of the writer towards a subject. We're going to give some examples of tone and talk about why tone is so hard to pick out. Let's talk about the attitude of the writer at first. Have you ever read an email or a text and you feel that the person writing it was having certain feelings when they sent it to you? You know, feelings of happy, sad, excited, angry, whatever, but you can feel their attitude in the words that they wrote. That's the tone. How does their attitude change the message? They could write the same thing with two different attitudes behind it, and it can have very different meanings. So think about how they portrayed their feelings and how it made you feel as well. That is the tone. So that's the attitude of the writer. Let's show some examples of how tone can definitely be given in words and how the way we choose words can change the tone. Here are three newspaper headings or things they might say on the news. A man died today in a tragic accident. Reckless driving ended a man's life today. Slick road conditions might have been a factor in the fatal accident today. All three of these headlines are talking about an accident where a man died. However, the first one says it was a tragic accident. So that might make us feel a certain way to see the word tragic in there. We might feel like this could be avoided, or that's really sad. It's tragic. Reckless driving ended a man's life today. That might make us feel angry. Why was someone driving recklessly? Or we might feel upset. Or if it was reckless driving ended his own life, some people might say, well, he shouldn't have been driving recklessly. He got what he deserved, right? And that sounds heartless, but the way you write it portrays a tone. The tone that the author means and the feelings that the reader is going to have. So again, super important to pick our words carefully. Slick road conditions kind of give a reason for what might have happened. So it kind of says, well, you know, maybe he was recklessly driving, but those slick road conditions could have been a factor. And that again kind of portrays a, oh man, we feel kind of bad for this accident having happened, and we feel sort of sad. So again, different words portray a different tone even though it's talking about the same message. Here's another example, politics. I love this example. A presidential debate versus The Daily Show. The Daily Show's a sarcastic comedy show about politics. And the presidential debate is a very formal way where the presidential candidates get up and talk about the topics that are important for the upcoming election. So the presidential debate versus the Daily Show have totally different tones. They may talk about the same topics, but the way they talk about it portrays a totally different feeling, and that's tone. And another aspect of establishing a tone is the context. And this phrase, you need to get that done now, has no context. So we don't know how the person would be feeling. The explanation point says maybe it's not calm, but it could have been angry, desperate, exasperated. It could have had many different tones depending on the context. So while you're reading and also while you're writing, you want to make sure to give context that will establish the tone that you want to express. And when you're reading, make sure that you're reading that in the way the author would want to express that tone. So choosing your words carefully is very important. Think about your audience, the way you write to friends or strangers or teachers. All of these different things will have a factor in the way that you choose your words. How do you want them to think about your writing? How do you want them to think about you? If you want to be taken seriously, you want to use a more formal tone. Avoid using slang, avoid curses, and swearing in your writing if you want to be taken seriously and taken as an intelligent human being. Do you want them to know that you're upset? Maybe then you would use some more exclamation points. Maybe then you would use, some like, I can't believe you did this, exclamation point. That would express that you're upset. Why did you let this happen? Exclamation point, question mark. Those types of things would help to express your tone. Make sure that you're choosing your words carefully so that the tone you are expressing is actually the tone that you want to express. And the last thing I want to talk about today is why tone is so hard to identify. It's hard to identify because it's not usually directly stated. You don't say, I'm angry, so I'm writing this. And your tone is subjective based on all of this outside context. A friend could write something, an enemy could write something, and that same message would have a very different tone. And being able to identify the tone of a piece of work comes with time and practice. So keep reading, keep writing, and you'll get better at identifying tone. Again, the tone is the attitude of the writer. We went over some examples of tone and talked about why it was so hard to pick out tone. I hope that lesson was helpful for you. Have a wonderful day.